that shit out.
Hey, 17-0, baby. You better get them ready. Yeah. Every week, bro, we come in, we put our mask on, we just take this all motherfucking time. This all goddamn game. This all motherfucking time. Yes, sir. Hey, it don't take too much, man. Get this while it's hot. It don't take a full team effort.
He's being hit. He's sacked inside the 30.
Ready.
The Eagles take over on downs.
Wow.
On the ground, and a first down, and a ton more. Barkley, touchdown.
Get that fight going, man. Defense, take the ball away, man.
It's intercepted by Blankenship.
Offense, keep that ass down, man.
Goodbye. Another one.
Hello.
Let's go. Another week, another big game. Eagles going to be taking on the Commanders this week. Some news to get into as well. But Thomas, how you doing?
Doing great. How about Commanders week all over again? Just felt like yesterday we were in Philadelphia sitting in the presidential suite on the sidelines for Eagles Commanders and a massive win that was kind of that game we all held our breaths, right? It was like, can they beat the Commanders offense? The defense has been good so far, but can they stop Jaden Daniels? And since then they've beaten the Commanders and the Rams and Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and now the Steelers. We've come a long way. We've come a long way.
Yep, checking every box. And despite the haters, because people constantly, going to throw it out there, well, they haven't played this team well, there's this reason, Jaden Daniels being injured, everything else.
Yeah.
Fine. If you want to say that, people want to believe it, whatever. It's another week. You have an opportunity to go up in front of the Commanders in Washington, take care of business. We've seen, what it means for the NFC and everything else. But, I mean, basically, first place to start out probably is, while the Detroit Lions and other teams as well, but certainly the Detroit Lions are getting ridiculous amount of injuries, the Eagles have suffered some, and we'll know later about the extent of Landon Dickerson, Mekhi Becton, more details on future shows and recaps there. But the holistic picture of this is the Eagles are getting another piece back, and whether some people want to say it's a very small or non-existent piece, so
yeah,
I guess you could argue that, but it's still a guy who depth rotation pass rusher Bryce Huff. So I'll put it up here on the screen just so that people officially know that as well. But if you did not catch that, oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. If you've not caught it, the Eagles did make a couple roster moves, but most importantly, they have opened up the practice window for Bryce Huff. So the 21-day practice window could be showing up, probably not for this week, naturally, but the remaining couple games, maybe you get him some reps in before the playoffs, but I think it's significant, maybe not massive, but it's still a significant add for, a pass rush that had, let's face it, basically three edge rushers. That's it.
Well, and that's the funny part about all of this is like we're going to see comments saying Bryce Huff stinks. Bryce Huff coming back doesn't really matter. It's interesting though because Philadelphia is really on a three-man defensive end kind of rotation right now. Obviously, Sweat and Nolan Smith are your two starters who've been fantastic, by the way. I remember, I think, two YouTubers and you and me saying before the season, if Nolan gets 6 sacks, that'd be a massive success. He's at 5.5 right now, right? And there's 3 games left this year plus playoffs. I mean, he's going to get 6, and it could be 8, 9, who knows. Double digits is technically possible over the course of the next 3 games if he were to go crazy. Sweat's been probably their best pass rusher on the edge overall, and then obviously Jilks Hunt, friend of the show, has been getting decent amount of snaps as well, but they only have 3, Josh, right now, and Charles Harris, who they signed the practice squad and activated, he's done very little. Bryce Huff coming back it adds a wrinkle, and it's a serious wrinkle, especially since Bryce Huff, right before the injury, was playing pretty well. The Giants' film is really, really good. He was starting to actually get pressure. He was starting to actually, make a difference in the terms of the pass rush. And so he comes back. He'll be in a limited role. He'll be in a massive pitch count. He'll be behind Nolan Smith. But when Smith goes out, in comes a $17 million a year pass rusher who at least has a proven track record of being able to get to the quarterback. It's whether or not he does that in Eagles green or not. I think it's big. Personally, I think it's big.
And the fact that, it's like it's kudos to both phases, but it's a big kudos to Nolan Smith because how Nolan Smith is playing is the reason why it's not a totally botched like $17.5 million of, well, we got a guy that basically we can only play or very limited in a sense of like he's a rotational pass rusher. He was getting better at stopping the run, but not great. It was better in rushing the pass, especially before the injury that took place, and then it was kind of makeshift those last couple games. But he had 2.5 sacks, as you're saying, right after the bye week. The next 4 games, I think 5 games, he had 2.5 sacks. So that's reasonable. That's respectable considering the percentage of snaps that he had played. But now it's like you can't really justify saying we're going to take Nolan Smith off the field more than you still got to play him 50-60% of the snaps. So if you do that and then you go, okay, a little bit occasionally, we're going to ease Bryce Huff back in, and then when the O-line is tired and late in the game and there's a long third down situation, insert Bryce Huff where it's situational pass rush and go get the quarterback. And that's what he's the best at. So I totally agree. The potential impact, even in a small sample size, saying, you know what, this could be the best case scenario here. You're still getting healthier. Depth is good regardless. But I mean, I'll never rest on shout out my guy Nolan Smith and the fact that he's at, it's no sacks until the bye week, but ever since then you get 5.5 and playing like a beast. So shout out to everybody else too. We got several comments here saying love the intro. Appreciate you guys. Excited about the giveaway also from Thomas's side. So I don't think we're going to do it immediately. We'll give a little bit more time to people trickle in. But yeah, you see it right there. It's coming. That's the beauty. It's coming. Somebody's going to win that thing. Cooper DeJean.
Somebody's going to win it. It'll be fun. Cooper DeJean, signed helmet, 70,000 subs. Appreciate you guys getting me there. Josh is going to give away a helmet probably next week when you get to 90, right? It's going to be pretty close. If you don't win, then maybe you win that one right there. A lot of signed helmets going on around the YouTube channels.
We appreciate the Eagles players, for the autographs and the helmets and memorabilia and everything else.
Yep.
Which we've teased too.
It's fun to give it away.
Not even close to some of the other things that will be given away later down the road. So
I'll almost say that the Eagles kind of dropped a little tease on what we're going to be doing, not intentionally, but I would say this week the Eagles did drop somewhat of a tease, which no one will get because they don't know what's going on. But
that's true.
Somewhat of a tease for what we're going to be doing early next year. How about that?
Yes, and not to give anything else away, but as you said, that I was just getting excited as I was like, wow, that's we're gonna be there. We'll just say that.
There you go.
It'll be fun. Philly Fan 365, how do I enter the giveaway? Just in case you have not, you just got to go to Thomas's recap video, click on that, and enter in any comment. Anything, whatever you want to say. I've filtered it. I can gather the comments and redo it right before we draw. But yeah, it's not too late. You have a couple more minutes. Get in on the giveaway. Should be good to go.
There you go. And also be subscribed. That's also kind of the whole deal. We're celebrating getting to 70,000 subs. I think before we do that, though, obviously we're talking about Bryce Huff and being healthy. And even if you think Bryce Huff coming back is not a big deal, being healthy is. And Bryce Huff's ability to be there in case an injury were to happen ahead of him is critical. I mean, as you look at Detroit right now, Josh, and we can talk about the NFC playoff picture and the Commanders. I'm sure we will. This, by the way, taking place of our Wednesday night link live because I have a Christmas party with my wife tonight. So that's why we're here right now. But either way, Detroit is extremely injured right now. 11 people on defense are on IR, most of which are not going to be able to come back for the postseason. Losing David Montgomery, as great as Jahmyr Gibbs is a massive loss for their offense, especially their play-action game and their red zone game, because Montgomery was kind of their brotherly shove, automatic touchdown at the goal line. I mean, he was always getting in the end zone. And so as we talk about getting healthy in Philadelphia, it's part of the reason why teams win Super Bowls. It's a war of attrition. And if you have a great team like the Detroit Lions and then you lose 11 players on defense plus your starting running back, it makes it a lot more difficult. And I think now the main focus in Philadelphia, Josh, is to obviously stay healthy the final 3 weeks, win this week, and then see what happens. Because we're basically on kind of a two-game scenario with Philadelphia, right? Next 2 games, you need to win them both, obviously, and then you need to sit back and watch, right? Detroit and Minnesota, if they both were to lose one game over the next 2, if one of the 2 loses, it could create a scenario where Philadelphia has to play their starters against the Giants in Week 18, get a win, and then hope either the Lions or Vikings win because they play each other, or, which I think is going to be the more likely scenario, Josh, Philly probably wins their next 2, and then they use Week 18 as their bye week in case Detroit or Minnesota has already locked up the 1 seed. That's kind of where we're sitting at over the next 3 weeks, and, you'd like to be the 1 seed, obviously, but the fact that Philadelphia is all but guaranteed the 2 seed, especially with a win this weekend over the Commanders, means they can use Week 18 as their bye week to get healthy and then have a little bit of a break before heading into the postseason.
True. You're at a win-win. You got multiple
it's true.
Possibilities there. I would still, and we are, I've mentioned this multiple times, we're getting closer to the $100 from you, because if this week it happens, I mean, ultimately, then at that point, really the only thing is week 18, I guess, if it gets me, because
it's true.
They're just sitting all the starters. But
so unfair, but it's true.
Other than that, we say if they get past the Commanders here in Washington, then I will gladly accept the $100 payment, and I'll appreciate that, because
I will
they
say
should
this,
be able to
though.
take care of business.
I feel like the Eagle backups versus the Giants is still going to be a very competitive football game. If the Eagles sit everybody against the Giants, that does not mean that the Giants are just going to roll Philadelphia. The Eagle backups are pretty good. Right. So I have a feeling that I'm probably going to pay this one out, especially since they beat the Steelers. My whole idea of the Eagles losing one of their final 4 games, which I didn't want to have happen, but that was the bet, was that I thought they were going to lose the Steeler game, in my opinion, and they didn't. So, it gets a little bit easier for you, I think, over the final 3. Washington, though, if we mention them, Josh, they have a lot to play for right now, because they are the 7th seed as it currently stands. But technically, if they were to lose this week and then lose another one, there's a scenario where another NFC South team were to squeak in. Potentially an NFC West team could be that extra 7th seed. It's more likely a South team if Michael Penix, gets going, and then, of course, the Bucs win, and then the Falcons slide as a 7th seed. This is a very important one right now for the Washington Commanders, which makes kind of an interesting battle for Philadelphia, who still has motivation, but maybe not as much as they did a couple of Thursdays ago when they came to the Link and we beat up on them because everyone predicted the Commanders to beat us.
It really is, yeah. And because of the spread is 3.5, right? The Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. A little bit less than the Steelers game. Granted, I know there's the home field advantage and all that. So neutral site, it's 3 points, so it's kind of like 6.5 points. But still, you're right. The Commanders have a ton to play for. They almost lost to the Saints last week.
Technically.
It was super close. The 2-point conversion, I was thinking, my gosh, the Saints are actually going to pull it off.
I know.
Marshawn Lattimore finally played.
How about that?
Like forever. You never were going to get to see him. A little bit of an odd coincidence, I guess, against his former team. Maybe he makes a difference there a little bit for them, but also we can go back to the point of what everyone saw this past week of going, oh, hey, the Eagles can throw the football. The Eagles can have a good passing game. Jalen Hurts can do that whenever they want to, whenever they get focused on it. So it feels like the offense, I wouldn't say unlocked, because it's not like they couldn't have necessarily, but just an extra concerted focus and saying, look, you know what? We're all competitive. It's fine to be able to have these difficult conversations. AJ said it, Kellen Moore said it, Nick Sirianni said it. But the squad feels so locked in, and I know that you retweeted it, you talked about it, I saw the same thing, but whenever you have, and she was not the only one, but Diana Rossini, who tweeted out after being in that locker room afterwards and saying, this squad has the 2017 vibes mixed in with like those 2022 vibes. I'm trying to contain my excitement, but it's really difficult to do that at this point in the season and then get an unbiased reporter going like, yeah, there's something special. There's something special going on in that locker room.
Well, and think how different this season at this point in the season has been versus 22 and 2017. 2017, Carson Wentz has already gone down. You got to play the final, 2-3 games with Nick Foles, and they looked terrible. I think it was Monday night. It was a primetime game versus the Raiders with Nick Foles, and it was like, okay, most people were not picking us to win the Super Bowl. I know the underdog mentality came on even after beating the Falcons. I think few honest Eagle fans were like, oh yeah, our offense is going to go toe-to-toe with the Vikings and then the Patriots. And obviously they were able to do that, and they got hot. Same for 2022. You got to remember, around this time in 2022, Jalen Hurts goes down against a bad Chicago Bears team. The collarbone issue, he's out. We play the Saints the following, or it was the Cowboys and then the Saints. The Saints game was atrocious. And then Hurts came back versus the Giants in that final game. We were all kind of like, ooh, they're a little shaky right now.
That was not good.
Right? We were definitely panicking. Whereas right now, knock on wood, it stays the course. As I knock, my dogs are barking in the background, if you can hear that. They think someone's at the door, but it's just me, guys. If they stay the course, the momentum, the hype, everything going into the playoffs is going to be completely different, especially if they get the 1 seed. They did in 2022, but if they have the 1 seed and are healthy and hot going into the playoffs, oh boy, it is hard to contain the excitement. And we can talk playoff scenarios, and there are different teams you'd rather face. But even against Tampa, which you and I have talked off camera as kind of like the scary team out there because they've had our number. Even against Tampa right now, you'd feel pretty confident just of how good Philadelphia is playing. Exactly.
And as you mentioned there, I mean, off of camera, it's like that is the one that we have texted of.
It's pretty scary.
I still think that you could. But if I was going to pick an NFC team that would scare me the most, I'm not saying that I'm terrified that the Eagles would lose, but it would scare me the most, is the Tampa Bay Bucks, because they've got Todd Bowles, Jalen Hurts number. He's progressed. We saw it last week. Yes, we still feel confident, but you just look in the mirror and you go, okay, this Tampa Bay Bucks team has had your number. They've also played better. They're better than their record too. I mean, they've suffered
definitely
a crazy amount of injuries.
Definitely are.
And they're starting to get a little bit healthier. Mike Evans is, played much better since getting back from the hamstring injury. Naturally, Chris Godwin is out for the year, but still, you look at this squad and that rushing attack too, man. The monster of Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, the tandem there. A lot of teams in this league that are good this year, especially, but for a lot of years, but especially in a run heavy year, if you have a rushing attack combined with the defense making some opportune plays, Baker Mayfield, he turned the ball over some, but he's also kind of like forcing it whenever he hasn't had the weapons. Now you see him getting those weapons back, so it would be, I would believe, the most difficult matchup that you could get out of the NFC teams. And maybe that's crazy to say because you look at records-wise, but I'm just saying eye test, watch the team, see what they actually make up and how they compare to Philly and match up. But yeah, I would still be confident in them. Shout out to Oblivion.
Go ahead.
I was going to get the super chat real quick. Shout out to Oblivion with a 2. Appreciate that. Said Jalen has beaten every top quarterback in the league.
No one talks about that. That is very convenient. You know what? I didn't even realize when I saw it on Twitter yesterday. Jalen is 14-1 versus the AFC, right? And his career 14. We talk about the Lamar versus the NFC. It's the exact same thing with Jalen Hurts versus the AFC, which is pretty crazy. I'm trying to think who is the AFC loss, by the way. Can we think of that off the top of our head? Who is the AFC
would it be
team?
The Super Bowl, I guess, against the Chiefs? Would that be the only one?
Oh, yeah. I was wondering if it was regular season only, but yeah, it would be the Chiefs. So has he not lost a regular season game to the AFC at all?
I'd have to go back and look. I mean, just off the top of my head, the easy one is obviously the Super Bowl. But if they're talking about regular season, then I mean, I don't know.
It's pretty crazy.
But you're right. It's the comparison of Lamar Jackson. A lot of people go, well, the reason that he's had success is he's a dual threat quarterback. He can beat you in so many different ways, and you don't see those teams very often. So there's not as much for them to go off of.
Oh, Jets.
Similarly for that's right, Jets.
The Jets.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe it was
just be
regular season then.
Stat.
Yeah. That makes sense. Jets last year. I completely just erased that game from my memory because we were still good during the Jets game, and it was such a one-off. It was like, it's not a big deal, but kind of turns out that the Jets game was very much a microcosm of the main problems of Philadelphia.
That's fair.
Yes, the Jets. Fair. You guys are right. Thank you, Chad.
Also, on the flip side, we're talking about the vibes being different. And Jose, I'm going to get to your super chat here in just a second. The defense also. Having a number 1 defense in the NFL, and by the way, it's not even number 1 defense in the NFL in terms of total yards. Sometimes it's, you can make the stats tell a specific story. It's number 1 in total yards, points per game, things like that. It's number 1 in terms of the yardage and points per game allowed. This defensive unit has been insane, and we kept saying it over the last several weeks. They've gotten better and better, and the most ridiculous part is people are going early on, which is a little bit fair, fine, because of the schedule and the opponents and everything else. You go, well, it's just the Giants. Well, it's just the Browns. Well, it's just these easier teams.
Right.
Wait until you play the Rams, the Commanders, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Commanders again. Here we go, coming up.
Yeah.
Sorry, but they've actually gotten better in points per game allowed the further that we've gotten into this season. So the number 1 defense in the league, and most importantly for me, you look at that 2022 team, and they had an easier schedule. You go back and look at the quarterbacks that they played, there were not as many of those to kind of test your strength and go, is this a legit defense? Can they beat these teams? Not to take anything away from them, but Daniel Jones in the playoffs, Brock Purdy in the playoffs, gets injured.
Yeah.
Josh Johnson in the playoffs, gets injured. They didn't play a significant great quarterback much that year. Whereas this season, you look at and you go, they've played some quarterbacks. I mean, you look at what the league would say, especially with Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson putting up MVP level numbers, you shut him down. You limit him. Joe Burrow putting up MVP level numbers, you shut him down, limit him. Don't speak specifically about the Bengals. I get that. But if you look at just specifically the quarterbacks that you've played and being able to limit some of the top at the highest level of their game this season, that to me is probably the biggest difference maker for this squad, and why I'm absolutely, we should be confident in what they can do because it's not a fluke. They've done it time and time again.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think you throw the Rams offense in there as well. You think back to Obviously, this past week where they struggled against Tampa. Tampa's one of those teams that have given everybody a run for their money. They've beaten Philadelphia, the Rams, the Detroit Lions, one of their only wins besides the Buffalo Bills. I think that Rams offense, being able to shut them down, is nothing short of impressive. And I think we say it every single week, especially during our game streams on Sundays. I don't think we appreciate having a number one defense. Philadelphia has had good defenses throughout both of our lives. Let's say the past 20 years or so. They have not had a defense like this. And 2022 had 70-plus sacks. The 2022 team is nowhere near as good of a defense as this team is, both statistically and with the eye test. This defense is way more dominant. Way more dominant. They're way better at linebacker. They are way better in the secondary. And that's no offense to anybody who played secondary in the 2022 team or the 2017 team. They are light years better than where they were just 2 years ago. And so I think it's something that's going to be a real difference maker come playoff time, because I do think the Eagles offense, and I want to talk about that, I don't think they're going to be perfect the rest of the way. I can still foresee, quarters of play where they struggle. They could very easily start Washington out slowly, and if people kind of freak out a little bit. But the difference is the fact that it's not like Washington's going to run up 17-0. It's not like you're going to get into the postseason. It's going to be 21-0, and the Birds are looking way up, unless you're having weird turnovers, right? The only way that Philadelphia struggles to me going forward is that the defense plays very badly, and they haven't done that for 10-plus weeks, Josh.
No, they haven't. And like we said, they've gotten better. You see Vic Fangio and the excitement that he's had in the guys as well, but like the buy-in from the squad, the level at the not only the play but the commitment every single week is like, okay, yeah, we play good, but we can get better. We can correct these things. We can improve upon things. Yeah. And we've always mentioned this as well, but you see there may be an instance where, okay, a guy not even necessarily plays poorly, but plays like average, right? Like you see 1 week and you go, okay, well, just wait next week, right? Because like if Zach Bond has just an average game, well, then wait till next week because he's going to have an all-pro game. It's going to correct itself back to what we've seen that level of play. But it's the most exciting thing. I get fired up too of seeing Josh Sweat on the sideline talking to AJ Brown on the mic'd up clip of going like, bro, we didn't get to pass rush all second half. Like, you guys just kept the ball for so long, which is great. I mean, it's great to have that complimentary football, but you can tell this defense, they're ready, man. They're geared up. They're ready to eat. They're ready to go out there and prove something to people. Yeah. And I'd never expected to say this among the many things that this team has proven us wrong and I guess right about in terms of being, excited about them. But I never expected to say, I kind of enjoy watching the defense play more than I do the offense because so many of the playmakers and the dominance and the physicality that they go out there with, it's every single possession. And you sit back there and then once they force another punt or turnover, you're like, my gosh, this defense is just unreal. And they've continued to improve upon that. So, a lot to be excited about naturally. Jose, I do need to get to you. Yours was much earlier. So appreciate the 5. Happy anniversary, Josh. I wish you and your wife a lifetime of happiness. I think Eagles. That's right. I do appreciate the first part of this, so thank you for that. Second part says, I think Eagles lose 20-17 this week. Can you all do the giveaway, please? Wow. That would cost Josh $100. So that would not be good. Like, I guess Jose's throwing out the 5 to offset it if he believes in that. So okay, there you go. Thank you for that, Jose. We do appreciate it. Man, yeah, I don't know. I mean, anything's possible, but if they lost 20-17, then that would be, I guess, tied for the most amount of points that Fangio's defense has allowed since the bye week. Yeah, so it's true. I don't know. Throw up the Luis Garcia super chat, and then while I read that, check your Twitter DMs. We got a little bit of news from Eagles practice as the Birds have just run out there for practice. Got some injury updates. So why don't you tell me when you have that on the screen, and then I'll read it and respond and let you get the tweets I said. So Luis says, shot from Brazil. Appreciate that, Eagles Nation. Do you think Bryce Huff has a future with the team? Well, he does contractually, right? I mean, he signed a 3-year contract. So, and they're not getting out of his contract in any sort of trade or cut situation after what he did this year. It's not a team that's going to take on $17 million a year, or whatever the average is, in 2025 or 2026 because they believe they can figure out Bryce Huff. So he will be an Eagle. I think that I think Fangio is going to really work this offseason to figure out what role he's going to have. And obviously, do they draft a pass rusher early in the draft? Like I think they will. How will that impact it? Does he just simply become a situational edge rusher? Can he grow? I don't know, but he will be a Philadelphia Eagle. So there's my take on it. But Josh, let me know which one you want to throw up first. But we do have some injury news here. Yes, I've got the looks like the Landon clip. So we'll put that one up there. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Yep. Got it on the screen
All
now.
right.
Everybody sees that. Good news from
So
Tim McManus.
just for some context here, yeah. So Landon Dickerson unsure of his status for today's practice because this is literally 7 minutes ago. So they are just now getting out there and warming up. But he is actually out there and warming up. He's doing something on the field. If he was severely injured, you wouldn't see him out there right now. What's interesting, though, Josh, is that no Saquon Barkley, no A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith, no Cam Jurgens. Looks like Lane Johnson has some rest as well, but quite a few Eagles are resting. The big one here is going to be Saquon, right? And I think actually A.J. too. Saquon Barkley first. Saquon Barkley very clearly had something going on during the Steeler game. Now, he said post-game he did have a minor thing. It did not happen during the game, and he's going to be fine, right? Which people lie. I personally think it was that hit on his right knee at the goal line. I showed it a bunch in my recap video on Monday. I think it got tweaked, and they were just trying to be careful. He still took carries in the second half, Josh, but it was like clearly they were giving it more to Gainwell than they normally do. So the fact that Barkley is not out there practicing right now and might be either limited today or a no-go today is worth keeping an eye on. I don't think it's severe, but it's worth keeping an eye on. And the AJ hip drop tackle, which, again, they didn't throw a flag on because they haven't flagged a single hip drop tackle yet, that looked not so great. And the fact that AJ said he was fine, again, believe him or not, but he's not out there today, could simply be rest. It could mean something more. I don't know. I would say subscribe to the channels because I think tomorrow we'll have a lot more clarity on this and we'll have updates on it. But worth noting what's happening as we speak at the NovaCare Complex for the 1,000+ people joining us right now.
Good call out. Yes. It's good to have rest, and we've seen this, later into the year, but the question has also come up, right? Because Saquon is in pursuit, as he should be, of Eric Dickerson's record. It's not impossible. It got more difficult because of the only 65 rushing yards against the Steelers.
Yeah.
He can have a breakout game. Everyone understands that. No, I don't know that he has 255, but even if he has a 160, something like that, then you go, okay, hey, we're right there. Could be the next couple games.
Yeah. But
there's a case to be made, not necessarily for this week, but if you win this game against the Commanders, do you consider if and again, these are huge hypotheticals here, but this is what we're playing now going into the playoffs. Do you consider if there's something in the Commanders games where it's he gutted it out, but maybe there's a little bit of a tweak, or maybe there's just a little bit of concern, something there? Do you say, well, let's give him a week off, right? Wait until the Cowboys game and say, let's let Kenny G go out there.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it because he needs about 120 plus a game right now is kind of the numbers over the final 3 to break the record, right? That's the number that he needs. Really, it's 135 would be comfortably and get, well over Eric Dickerson for a little bit of room towards the end. But as we said with the playoff picture, there's a very real chance the Birds have no reason to play the starters against the New York Giants in Week 18 because they're locked into the 2 seed. And if that's the case, then there's a 0% chance Saquon Barkley plays in that game. There is no need for Saquon Barkley to play in that game. Think back to A.J. Brown in the Giants game last year where he got hurt and missed the Bucs game, and what turned out to be was meaningless. He should not have been out there, but they were desperate to get a rhythm, and it was we got to figure it out. There's no way. There is absolutely no way, in my opinion, that Saquon is going to get that number unless he goes crazy against the Washington Commanders. If he has a 200-yard game versus the Commanders, and then he just needs 100 versus Dallas and then 65 or whatever the number is versus the Giants, maybe. It has to be within reach, though. If he needs a 100-yard game plus against the Giants, again, I don't see it being a meaningful game. And we need to see the time frames here, right? Because the way the NFL is going to do this, and they do it on purpose, and I see this massive super chat, by the way. We're going to get to you, Weary. Let me finish my thought. I appreciate that. The way the NFL does Week 18, Josh, is they do not tell you what times most teams are going to play. If you look at the Eagles' schedule versus Giants, TBD. The same will go for that Lions and Vikings game. And with that being the case, if that game matters, the Lions and Vikings game, with Philadelphia's game, they're going to be at the same time. That way the Eagles can't rest people and watch versus, the Lions resting people and watch. You're going to have to play that game out if it's close. But if it's not, Barkley's not playing in that game, and he won't get the record. And honestly, I don't think he's going to care.
No, he won't. He's basically mentioned it, I think 2 times now already. It's hey, look, it's about winning. If it happens, cool. It's your name in the history books, of course, but ultimately it's about being healthy, being ready, able to make an impact as much as you can in the playoffs. So I'm with you if he doesn't get that. Elbert, really quickly before Weary, the 2 was saying, Josh, don't worry, Birds will win 35-21 this week. So
there you go,
Elbert. I appreciate that. That's what we're believing in. And then the
about
100
this?
bomb. The 100
Crazy.
bomb
Crazy.
from Weary
How
Drifter.
about that from Weary?
Heck yeah.
Go ahead.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
Josh
Christmas.
and Tom. May you and your families have a blessed holiday and New Year. I got a ticket for a dream seat on the field for Sunday's game in D.C. Fly, Eagles, fly.
How about that? The Dream Seat. I've heard of these, right? And I don't know if you can put the link up, Josh, but the Eagles Autism Foundation has a ton of auction items, and I believe the Dream Seat is one of them. I could be wrong, but they have a ton of different, on-field experiences where you can be at the tunnel and high-five the players or sit a lot closer. And I think Weary, let us know if you got it from the Eagles Autism Foundation or from somewhere else. But first off, thank you for the 100 bomb. That is massive. And second of all, Merry Christmas.
Insane.
And third of all, have fun. That sounds like a great seat to sit at. Although, wait a second, this is obviously an away game. So he clearly is doing this not through the Eagles Autism Foundation because all their stuff is home games, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This must be through the Commanders stuff. Eagles Autism Foundation has stuff for Eagle home games, not for away games. So, FYI.
There we go.
Still,
and I
sounds
believe
awesome.
The Christmas one, I think it closed, or at least the most recent one. I was scrolling through here to see. I think the most recent one closed for some Christmas items. But shout out to them.
Boy, how
All
about
the work they
someone
do.
paying? I saw that right. $10,000 to meet Nick Foles at the Atlanta Falcon game.
Yeah.
Man.
the one
Jeez.
that I get fired up about that that I placed a couple bids
you
when it
did.
was very
You
early.
did, technically.
But to play around with Saquon Barkley, play around of golf with Saquon, $19,500.
Yep.
Be nice.
That's easy, right?
Don't really have that
Nothing
cash,
crazy.
but anybody else has it in there. Elbert with a 2 says, let's see, maybe a miss typo here. The team, I believe, will get Saquon to 140 plus the next 3 games.
Okay. I mean, they definitely can.
It's possible.
I just think we got to know kind of what he's dealing with. If it's a minor little thing, they're not going to play him as much. Be a lot more Kenny Gainwell. And by the way, Weary Drifter says he bought it on SeatGeek. Shout out my SeatGeek discount code, channel sponsor, SeatGeek.
Hey,
Mott 10.
okay.
He used that at checkout. So a lot of people ask me, buying tickets, discount code Mott 10. Very simple. So shout out to SeatGeek. They've been a consistent partner for me, and it's where I get all my tickets. Like actually before I partner with SeatGeek. So shout out to them as well. But there you go. That's how we got it. So Dream Seat, Commanders game over there they don't call it FedEx Field anymore. I forget what the new name is, but that very fun field that no one likes playing at. So it's fun. It's like new
Northwest
and something.
Stadium.
Northwest.
There we go.
Stadium.
I had to Google that one.
Sick.
That's
really fun.
Not off the top of my head.
Northwest
It doesn't
Stadium.
roll off the tongue like the
No, it definitely
Northwest
doesn't.
Stadium.
Northwest
Good
Stadium.
job.
It's like one of Kanye's kids. It's like, who are we naming this after? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, man.
Oh, my
Should we
gosh.
do the? Should we go ahead and do the helmet giveaway? I think we
Sure.
should. I think we're
Why
about-
not? Yeah.
we're
Dub
at
G
that
says,
point.
I forgot y'all were going early, but did I win anything? So you're not too late.
Well,
You're
we're
not
about
late.
to find out.
Yeah, we're about to see
And
who this is.
Even if you're watching this later, the person who wins it is going to have a couple of days to let me know. He'll have by early next week. If I don't hear anybody by Monday, then I'll redo it. So you're going to get some of my hair
Okay.
in it too, since I've been wearing it so much. But it fits pretty well, huh? Josh
It
is gonna
really
pull up
does.
the spinner.
We got it ready to go. We
and
should
we'll
be
good
good.
to go. Man, I can't wait to give this thing away because
I
I would
wish-
it's just been sitting on my desk and I look at it all the time. And I wish I could just keep it, but
Somebody said
we
earlier
are.
you should do the game stream with that. You should do the next game stream.
I
don't know
could.
how difficult that would be. I mean, it fits, but I don't know if it's too snug or one of
It's a
those
little
things
tight.
that, like, by the end of the game, you're going
It's
to
a
be like,
little tight.
okay, it's a little lightheaded.
it's a little much. It's a little much.
Somebody's going to win it here.
Ugh.
Good luck, all.
right. Here
We
we
good
go.
to spin?
Yeah, spin
All
it.
right. Who's it
Here we
going to
go.
be? Out of the thousands and thousands and thousands
Yeah,
of people,
lots
who
of
could
people.
it be? It's Andres Perez, RG4XK.
Andres Perez? There you go. That's the winner,
Congratulations.
Andres Perez. Congratulations, Andres, however you say it. If you're watching right now, let us know in the chat. If not, though, when you're watching this later, pinned or at the top of my description box are the details on how to get in contact with me. So you have to send me a screenshot of you with that account logged in to prove it's you, and then give me your information, and I'll send this out to you. So you have until Monday's show. If we do not hear by Monday's show, we are going to reset this and respin. So you have some time, but congrats to Andreas. Nolan Rogers says fake account. It's just me. That's my account. Yeah, I want it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to keep it.
I was wondering, it doesn't take long before there's a lot of people that identify as undressed.
Do you see comments like that? I've seen comments like, all your giveaways are fake and you just keep the stuff, which I wish was true, honestly.
Completely.
I really do. We give away some fun stuff.
I've got a closet full of items that I'm just never shipping out. I'm like, hey, congratulations,
That's right. You just hoard them all behind you. Yeah. I had one person, because every Saturday preview show, if you guess one of the two quarterbacks' stats correctly, then I send you one of the T-shirts, like this one. Yeah. And people were getting close, but they didn't get it. And then I was like, okay, you get a 10-yard safety net, right? And then that week, somebody nailed it dead on. And so I shipped them they wanted the Saquon Barkley T-shirt, which are all linked down below in the description box. But it's possible. So I finally gave away those. But we do the non-competitive giveaways, I guess, non-comment giveaway-driven ones like this all the time for 70 games. So
yeah,
there we go.
So, well, we appreciate all those. We appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas, specifically to Andres, but to everyone, to all of our loyal subscribers and viewers. We appreciate you guys. As Thomas and I have said a number of times, if we could, we obviously would be like, hey, we're going to do 100 of these giveaways, right?
I wish.
The bigger that it gets, I mean, we are doing more giveaways and bigger giveaways. So that's the ultimate goal. But there you go.
Let's just say this. We will be doing a joint playoff ticket giveaway. We obviously haven't officially announced that yet. We don't know when, where we're playing in terms of is it divisional round, wildcard round, but we have already agreed behind the scenes we're going to give 2 tickets away to the Eagles' first playoff game. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that, because that's one of many things we're going to be doing, including some really, really fun stuff we can't talk about in 2025. So it's all coming.
By the way, this made me think of this since you just said the playoffs, and we announced it but didn't announce it, but kind of did announce it by saying that. That Justin Pugh, shout out to him, but his video on the Eagles.
I looked at that today, actually.
Close. We're creeping up on 100,000 views. So if it gets to 100,000 views, remember, it's the give a playoff tickets away, right? I'm going to give away 2 playoff tickets. But also, he's going to have to wear an Eagles jersey, and I believe we agreed upon a Saquon Barkley Eagles jersey to a game. So it's not 100%, but there might be a way to get him to wear an Eagles jersey to an Eagles playoff game and get that all recorded. So for a Giants guy who claimed that he would never be doing that, it would be pretty good if we can get Justin Pugh in the Kelly Green, because he refused to, obviously, at the trip in Philly. So we're getting close.
There you go. Well,
check it out.
I know a lot of people are wishing that they had won the helmet. Again, I'll put a community post out with the winner. He clearly is not in the chat right now. Andres is not in the chat, so hopefully he sees it. But again, if we get to Monday, that is the stop. Midnight on Sunday, so Monday morning, if I have not heard from Andres, we are re-spinning and restarting it for next week for Christmas. So just FYI, that is the official clock that has started right now.
Chance here says, is there a list of people that have never claimed? Have you
ever had someone?
I've had several. Believe it or not, I've had someone who did not claim a ticket. And the reason that I remember that, 2 tickets, because they're always, 2 tickets for the games.
Right.
The reason I remember that is because I remember who won it, because it's so rare that no one's going to claim their 2 tickets. But Andrew R. claimed the 2 tickets back whenever it was the Eagles and Ravens game. And that's the only ticket giveaway. I've had a couple people that didn't claim a jersey, which is still crazy. I mean, I give, the week heads up and all this stuff, but it happens. But Chance, to answer your question, whenever that doesn't happen, I'll just do it on the next live stream, but it goes to someone in the live stream, because I'm not going to sit here and play this game of hey, here's so and so, and now we got to wait another week. So first person, get a week. If you don't claim, then it goes to the more plugged in live supporters, and then we'll just do it on the live stream. So
but that's why it also pays to watch shows more often, because if Andres just watched the recap show and entered, and then he doesn't watch a show for 6 shows after that, then tough luck, I can't do anything about it. So yeah, it's till Monday. I bet we'll hear from him, though. This is kind of a big one. You got to check in, right? So
yes,
we will see about that.
There's a different Andres. It's not the right Andres, but I'm seeing
Silver is saying it didn't even. Okay, there you go. Different Andres. Silver is saying it didn't even spin. The way whatever website Josh has used.
It scrolled. I mean, scrolled through. It's a random. You saw all the different names go through. I mean, it's not going to be able to show the 70,000 names. What, you would be here for 3 days?
People think we cheat on these. I don't know why we would.
I know, we're just picking random people or specific people.
Yeah.
Joey with a 5.
Go ahead.
Appreciate you, Joey. Said you should do a "you really want it" giveaway and have people reply on multiple videos and do more to show they want the item and work for it a little.
Jeez. Yeah, why don't you just, come to my house and rake my leaves into my front yard to show me how bad you want this stuff? Goodness gracious, we're going to make it really work for him, huh?
Yeah, or ask him to send in specific videos to us. It was like, what, we're trying out for like a specific game show or something?
Run a
like,
40
hey,
and time
tell me what it
see who's
takes.
the fastest. That'd be funny, actually.
It wouldn't be too bad. It'd be great.
IBH says Justin Pugh is also supposed to make Thursday night Eagles hats for 75,000 views. Find out where our hats are. Is he really? I don't remember him saying
I
that.
forgot about that. Yeah, any fan base that gets the videos up to 75, he's going to do hats. So,
well, what's the video at right now? Isn't it at 77?
I think it's over. Yeah, so that it should be in the works. Actually, now that you say that, I think that they were talking about what they should put on the side. So, because each one has like the Thursday Football Club on the front, and on the side, it's some saying or phrase for each team. I forgot the last one that they did. Like, I guess they did the Chiefs for sure. I think it may only be the Chiefs.
It's just us. Yeah, the Falcons are at 69,000 right now. They're like the next closest.
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying, go Birds. I mean, seems too obvious. You could do Fly Eagles Fly, I guess, on the side.
Sure.
I'm good. Go
Makes
Birds.
Makes sense. Hope says, Tom, I'll rake your leaves. Oh, that'd be great. How about that? I don't have very many, but a couple here and there would be nice. Clean up the little flower beds, or I gotta do that myself. So. Thanks, Hope. I'll see you tonight.
G says, Josh, I'm close enough to rake your yard for a helmet. This is great. People are very helpful now all of a sudden. Unfortunately for you, I've got a super tiny tree in the front yard. It's a new neighborhood, so there's literally no leaves.
It's not much.
Appreciate the offer.
Hashtag Thomas Mott. Have you ever met Eagles chat by now? I don't know what that means. Like a fan of the show in person? I've done that. But I don't know. I don't know what you mean there. Shout out Ben. I don't know how to pronounce Ben's last name. Gucconi? It could be, Italian. I just butchered that. You guys rock, but I appreciate that. So.
Appreciate that, Ben. I see that here, yes. There.
Yeah, how would you say that last name?
Guccione?
That's probably it. Yeah. Yeah, I think you got it.
Who knows, though. Could be dead wrong.
Shout out to Dub Spam. Hey, Thomas, hope you're having a great day so far. Let's beat the Commanders, bro. Hope you both are having a great, wonderful Wednesday. Yeah. Commanders, and we mentioned this before we get to Sess's chat here. Commanders, I think, are going to be pretty motivated. We got to watch out for see what's happening with Zach Ertz. I think he had a concussion-like symptoms. I don't know where he's officially at after their practice today because they're probably practicing right now. Jonathan Allen, though, I believe, was activated the 21-day practice window. And unlike Huff, I think the Commanders are pretty confident Allen could play this weekend, which would be a big boost for that defensive line. So they are definitely going to be, a little bit more healthy, I would say, going into this one. So he's a pretty good player.
Definitely, no doubt. Questioning of, obviously, as you're, going into there, like how healthy can he get back and play, be an impact player, most likely the following week. But Commanders they're in an interesting spot, as we opened with. It's like if they lose, then they've got the Bucs right on their heels. Atlanta is in a weird position because of Michael Penix, and I mean, probably should help their offense as bad as Kirk Cousins has been playing. But still, Atlanta's got the tiebreaker over Tampa, which is so strange because the way that you see these teams are trending, it's like Atlanta's kind of at best holding serve, but kind of trending downward, and Tampa is shooting through the roof. But they don't have the tiebreaker, so they need to get like a full game ahead of Atlanta. Otherwise, they're going to be in the race for the 7 seed, basically. So,
well, and I'm looking at the Commander's schedule, right? Us this week, Falcons are the following week and that's the one that they flex. They're supposed to be Kirk Cousins going home to Washington. They flex Sunday Football. Now it's Michael Penix, and then at Dallas. And so there's a very real scenario. Commanders are 9-5 right now. That they are the 7 seed, right? If they lose, they go to 9-6. And then, of course, below them is Seattle at 8-6, and then Atlanta at 7-7. If Atlanta wins this weekend and goes to 8-7, and the Commanders lose to go down to 9-6, then that sets up the following week with a tiebreaker on Sunday Night Football. Gets very, very interesting for what happens with Philadelphia. And I think as you're looking, Josh, at the Eagles' potential as a 2 seed, I think we're all hoping for 1, but the odds would tell you that they're going to be a 2 seed. Your options right now are Commanders, Seahawks, and Falcons, right? There's a chance the Cardinals could be mixed in there. I like the Eagles against all of those teams. The Commanders are the team I'd least want to play because then it's the third time's the charm based on what happens this following week, and you never know, right? You just never know. Whereas I think Philadelphia would love to play Atlanta and get back at the Atlanta Falcons for a game that they all thought they should not have lost. And looking back now, Philadelphia really shouldn't have lost that matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons. And I think Seattle Seattle very much has kind of peaked as a mediocre football team, right? I mean, especially on Sunday Night Football this past week versus the Green Bay Packers. They just don't look to be as scary as previous iterations the Seattle Seahawks has been. And so I really think that you need to hope that you beat the Commanders this week, they lose to Atlanta, and unless Michael Penix is turning out to be like the second coming of rookie Russell Wilson, you're going to want to play that Falcons football team in the first round over your divisional rival for, the third time this season. If I had to bet, though.
Right there with you, yes. I don't never want to play, yet you can make the case of, the Giants in 2022. There's a way to go in there just dominate, but I just never liked the idea of playing a team a third time in a season, especially if it's like, oh, you beat them twice, and then let's try to do it for a third time. It's the NFL, weird things happen.
Yeah.
So I would agree. I mean, we lost to Atlanta. It was totally different team, right? Like it should have been a win. Saquon dropped from winning that game regardless, but as you mentioned, there are a lot of the other issues that Atlanta's been suffering or facing. So I would 100% say, please give me that matchup rather than some of the others. So we'll see. But it is interesting because, again, there's so many different storylines as you come down to. You got 3 12-2 teams all duking it out. The Lions have been decimated, as we said earlier, with so many different injuries.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a decent chance for them to lose one of these last games, and then it becomes, can the Vikings also lose? They're one of those teams that's like, I mean, the Vikings have to be one of the most like non-talked about 12-2 teams ever, and also like just doubted, which is understandable because I'm in the same boat of doubting them. It's like, oh, well, it's Sam Darnold, but can he do that in playoffs? But they do just keep finding ways to win, and sometimes you look at it, you're like, man, this team is, I mean, they've shown flashes of being like, man, they're a pretty good football team. Certainly Brian Flores, what he's done with the defense, but Sam Darnold playing up to that level also.
No, they're playing very, very well. A quick mention here on the Eagles practice that's happening as we speak right now. Looks like the entire Eagle offensive line is resting. And Landon Dickerson was out warming up with the rest of the offensive line, but they're all, after that, resting. And so that sounds like a good sign for Dickerson, right? That seems to be a very good sign there, but a massive rest day for Philadelphia. So no AJ, no Devontae, no Saquon, no offensive line. A lot of guys are getting a little break today, which I think makes sense. I think, obviously, the Eagles dominate on Sunday, but playing against that Steeler team, a very physical football team, it makes sense that they are kind of wanting to tone it down a little bit today, probably ramp tomorrow, ramp Friday, and then get ready for Washington.
Yep. I'm in favor of that. That makes sense. Let's see. Got a couple of super chats that came in here. Appreciate those. Let's see. Sess with the 5 says, not a lot. Enjoy the show, guys. Would love to get you guys this Hurts Panini Mosaic rookie card. It'd be dope for a signature or giveaway.
Whoa.
Hey.
You said Panini? Is that the right word?
Yeah, Panini.
Like the sandwich?
Well, but they had like the Jalen Carter ones and the
right. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Never mind. I thought that was mispronounced, but you're right. That'd be pretty sick.
We'd take
Shoot
it.
us an email.
Absolutely.
Shoot us an email.
We
How about
appreciate
that?
the support.
Shout out to my sister who's watching right now, Marie, and I think she's watching with her daughter, Rylan, who is less than 2 and can almost say Uncle T, but she likes my wife more, Aunt P. So shout out to Rylan right now. My wife, or my sister just texted me and said, "What's the special giveaway in 2025?" She doesn't know. Maybe I can tell her, and she'll know, but no one else will. So
there you go.
There is fun stuff happening though, but I'll let her know. She'll know. But no one can pester her. So
very fun.
Lots of fun stuff.
Awesome, good stuff.
Tyler says, I just got here. Did the helmet giveaway already happen? It did. And Josh was the one who spun the wheel because he's hosting the stream right now. So Josh has the official name, but I'm going to put that in my chat. And you text me that, Josh, just so I have it. But
okay, yes,
Andres, I believe, was
Andres
the winner.
Perez, RG4XK.
RG4XK. That's the official one. Okay. But yeah, shoot me a text on that one. So I'll put that in the comment section. And again, Andres has until Sunday night at midnight, Monday morning, to go ahead and claim it. And then if not, then we'll do it to somebody else. And that means I get to keep it longer and I'll keep wearing it. Just wear it to sleep. It's very fun. It's really comfortable.
Good for you. Yeah, I'm sure your wife loves that. Let's see. Joey with a 2 says, what's the address? I'll rake leaves for what you give. Okay. So
for a helmet.
All right. Well,
yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and announce your address to the world, Josh? I think they'd love that. Right? Go ahead, put it out there.
I'll probably just hold off on that. It's a good thought, but we appreciate the offer. J62 Moon said, "Yes, Jalen, that's what we all wanted to see," with some laughing emojis and an eagle. That was, I mean, he had a much better game. He also
much better game.
It's. I don't mind it, like whatever you needed to hype yourself up, get you going and everything else, but it's like a little bit of the drama and everything else was stirred up by BG, and so it was fueled beyond that, sure, but BG, what he said, then it's like, hang on, it's one of your own players, but nonetheless, somebody also making comments like, we need to get AJ and Jalen at odds right before the playoffs again. We need to make this happen, because if this is what they do, then silence the doubters, silence the critics. But yes, he played much better.
Yeah, and I think that part of it was they focused on throwing the football more. I think part of it was they just wanted to emphasize and, silence the haters. But I think a lot of it was the Pittsburgh Steelers said, we are not going to let Saquon Barkley beat us. And they did a great job doing it. Saquon had more negative running plays in this game than he's had all season long. And so I think that it was just a good example of take what the defense gives you. And thankfully, the week that we needed to throw the football well to silence the haters, they took away the run game. We were able to throw the football. I also want to say there's been a lot of really good breakdowns on, the Eagles film stuff and an empty formation, Josh. I don't know if you've seen this. I talked about it on my show yesterday. Philadelphia went out of empty, 5 wide receivers with no running back next to Jalen 9 times. Most they've done at all or so far this season. Had like 116 yards on those 9 plays, the first of which was that Calcaterra kind of, sluggo where he was in the slot and then Jalen hit him on one of those opening throws. And so I think they might have found something there where Jalen, for whatever reason, feels comfortable, maybe because it's 5 instead of 4. It's more spread out, and he has more time to kind of sit back and go where he wants to go with the football. I don't know the reasoning, but it was very interesting how successful it was in that Steeler game. I think could be a real factor going forward for the Eagle passing attack.
Yeah, I want to see it a lot more too. And, with Kellen Moore in the press conference, he was saying it works or helped to work, especially with a guy like Jalen Hurts, because when you go empty, you still require the defense to account for Jalen Hurts, because he could take off and run it. And a lot of times we've seen, at least in last year or last couple seasons, that you go empty, Jalen takes a snap, and it was basically a designed run. Like you from the get-go, you were going to run the football, or certainly if Jalen sees something that he likes, then he's just going to take off and run with it. But with a guy like Jalen, who's shown more willingness to run this year, the injury that he had last season is clearly not there, so he's different as a runner. You have that facet of it, but then all of a sudden now they've had some of these different routes. It's these quick throws. The best thing to me was Jalen's time to throw was the fastest it's been all season, especially in the first half. So combine that with the fact that what he was doing on the empty sets was what I think it was the most. Actually, it was the most yards or more yards than the last 7 weeks combined. I think I saw that tweet out there. So the fact that it was that much of a significant difference was clearly a focus. But then to see it go out there against a Steelers team that, remember, is a number 5, I believe, defense in the NFL. It's not like you did it against a top, or the 30th ranked defense. You went out there and did it against a legit defense, and so it's got to be a confidence builder. Tyler with a 5.
Shout out to go ahead.
Says Tom, you're getting nervous to pay that 100. And Josh, if we win the Super Bowl and keep the streak, when do you shave the stash?
That's a great question. First off, I'm praying I have to pay Josh the $100. I want the Eagles to win out because that probably means that they're the 1 seed. I just don't think it's going to happen. So, let that be said. But I actually was wondering this because you have not shaved the mustache in 10 weeks, which is pretty crazy. You did your Christmas cards, which I received in the mail, by the way. I appreciate that. You know my address.
Yes.
And there he is. You and your beautiful family with your mustache. So, at this point, if they were to win the rest of the way, which is what? It'd be 7 more games, 3, and then they have to win 4 playoff games, assuming that they are the 2 seed, 6 or 7. Are you going to keep it for another 9 months after that? I think if they win the Super Bowl, you're allowed to shave it. How about that?
Okay. I mean, it's honestly, it's up for debate, right? Yeah. I don't know. I really haven't gotten that far. Maybe I should begin thinking that, but I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to take away from it and then be like, okay, we're thinking about things that are way too far in the future. But if they win, I don't know. I kind of...
Yeah, what do you do?
It'd be a really, really long time of keeping it. I might have to just keep it. As crazy as that sounds. I mean, all the way till the next loss at some point in the next regular season.
Yeah.
I don't know. Feels too appropriate because it's Super Bowl worthy. I mean, I'll probably maybe put up a poll or something like what people think, but I feel like it'll be far and away. Like, bro, we just won the Super Bowl. We keep the stash. So
they probably will. Tankman says, Thomas, if I pay $500, will you go bald? No, I won't go bald for $500. I'll buzz it though for $500 at the end of the season.
Okay, there you go.
But I'm not going to go
Baldiani.
bald. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I'll do what Nick Sirianni did, right? I'll buzz it, and then that way it grows that back. I've actually been considering doing that. I just am on camera every day, and I'm scared what like a bald or a buzzed Thomas would look like. So one day you're gonna watch my show and be like, who is that?
It's just super early summer cut.
Going for
Well
that
in
Rafe
advance.
Cameron Outer Banks look. That's what we're going for there. I don't know. Have you watched Outer Banks? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
There you go.
right.
There you go.
It's a look.
Looks good
We'll
on
just say
him.
that.
And I just don't think it looked good on me. So,
It's
at least
a
that's what my wife
special
tells
look.
me.
It didn't look that great on Sirianni either, but
No,
no,
it didn't.
it works.
No, gosh, it didn't.
So I guess
it worked. It definitely worked. He really should shave his head, like either the night before the playoffs, the week before the playoffs, or if you get to a Super Bowl, and just admit that he, like subtly show the fan base that he understands that we all think it's because he shaved his head after the bye. That is the reason that we're on a streak right now, because it's grown back. It's like basically back to where it was. So I think it'd be fun if he would admit that. So, and no one who's interviewed him has asked his thoughts on going bald. So, is what it is.
Anthony, nothing is wrong with bald, by the way. Nothing.
Oh, is that what Anthony DeBode
is? Just wait, what's
I
wrong
don't think
with
anything's
bald?
wrong with it. Personally, I
Nothing.
prefer it.
I
prefer it.
It just can't. I can't go bald. But no, you look great. There's nothing
Andy looks good.
wrong with bald.
He looks totally fine bald. He looked great on the sideline bald too whenever he's hanging out with us on the sideline. So
There you go. Yes.
There you go.
It actually shocked me though to see the long hair that Anthony had back when we won the Super Bowl. That was
I didn't
crazy.
know that he had that.
Yeah,
I
he
need to see a
posted his
picture of
video. I think it was on Twitter, but whenever he posted that one, I was like, "Who is that guy?"
that. Long hair, Anthony.
Long hair.
How
Yeah.
about that?
Believe it
How
or
about
not.
that?
Joey with another 5. Appreciate that. Says nobody talking about how the Lions don't rest players like Nick during the season and 0 starters in the preseason. We're ready for playoffs and Lions are not.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia has definitely done some interesting stuff with the practices over the course of this season. You talked about it, Josh, on your show. I don't remember when it was, but you kind of did a deep dive. And Sirianni's been very fluid, right? They've been very hard at times. They've dialed it back. Like today, for instance, they're finishing up a practice right now. He's mentioned it earlier, where the entire offensive line, all the weapons, they're not practicing. It's a rest day for them. I think that they've done a good job. But I also think this whole stigma in the NFL of like, your team got really hurt, that means that you've been practicing too hard, and it's like your training programs are that bad. I think it's just, it happens to everybody. I mean, 2017, we got really banged up. We had a lot of injuries in 2017. We were starting Halapulviati Vaitai, if I butcher that, at left tackle. Like, not ideal, and he played game of the year in the Super Bowl. So I think that, it kind of varies in terms of good or bad or whether or not it's their fault. I just think that some teams get unlucky, and that's kind of how it is.
I tend to agree with that also. Yeah, there's maybe a little bit, like at this point of the season, sure, you could probably dial it back a little bit and give players some rest. So,
at
for those
this point,
teams
for
that
sure.
are not, yeah, that makes it different. But early in the year, I mean, I could see it both ways, because you could make a case of going like, well, what about the past season when you're not dealing with near as many injuries? So it goes back and forth. We are really fortunate, regardless of what very fortunate. Have had some injuries, sure. BG being out,
Sure.
big time. Dallas Goedert's been out multiple times.
Yep.
That's kind of, no offense to him, kind of expected. But still, there's been some injuries. It's just not to the extent of most of the teams, or at least the really injury-riddled teams like Detroit. Although I made a comment in the game recap video of saying, I don't know what's in the water. And about half of people got that joke, and about half of people just totally missed on it. So if you're not following, there's the Flint water issue crisis, whatever we call it. So
Sure.
That's probably has nothing to do with injury related.
Nothing.
Some people, the conspiracy theorists, they're going, maybe you're onto something. Daryl with a 5 says, for film breakdown, I would recommend looking at the Philly Film Room. Yep, Nick and Eric do great work. Said Josh and Thomas, you should bring Nick on for a segment on film review.
Fun fact here, actually. I am actually having Nick on for Saturday's show. Fun fact.
Okay, there we go.
That was made official earlier today. Actually, I was DMing with Nick. So Nick will be
Heck
on my Saturday preview show. So I think he does incredible work, right? He does a very good job at his film breakdown. It is way more interesting than most film breakdowns. I find myself watching film breakdown people, and they can be very boring. It's like, okay, just a little too slow, right? Whereas he is like, here's what I want to focus on. Hit this, hit that. See what he did here. Love it. Great job. Yeah, he's going to be on the show this weekend.
Heck yeah. There we go. Shout out to those guys. They should have more views and more subs.
Definitely
without
should.
a doubt.
Definitely should.
Garrett with a 5 says you guys should make a rush counter on Sunday stream for Saquon rushing yards to beat the record. It's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah,
Your poor wife would have to make that
Just
graphic.
make
and she
another graphic.
Probably
there.
doesn't want to do that. So
It's possible. It's not. We have to figure out where it would actually go though too. Just because
we don't have a lot of
I was
room
trying to
on
see
our
if I have
streams
one
either.
of those, and I don't have it here to use to throw up there for just like a sample scoreboard. But yeah, it's like we've already got the scoreboard, and then we got the other graphic. If we were to put it, yeah, we could try to figure something out with that.
Maybe.
It's not impossible.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Shout out to Josh's wife for she's the one who made all of our graphic dreams come true in terms of the show or the game stream. So everything you see there is by her, and she's incredible at it. So she would be the one doing it because Josh and I can't. We are capable of many things in terms of editing, but in terms of graphic design, I am pretty useless. So
Yeah,
did not learn that in college.
Can't do a whole lot of those.
No.
The thumbnails for the videos is about as far as I go. So
And those are difficult. Those take a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
and then what she does is kind of like, wow, all right. She's insanely talented. So yes, I appreciate
she's very
that.
good. Very good. That's
Mike
why
with a
Josh and I
5.
swap off. Oh, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, I see this one.
It says Nick/Kellen have been resting our receivers all season. LOL.
Well,
in a different way.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's so funny watching the reaction of the Eagles win this past week because there's the group that like, see, I told you, and then there's the group that's like, no, they have been bad. They have been bad, but then they're playing better. And I'm a little bit of both. Like, we all know that they were capable of that, but the passing game had not been playing that great. Now, was it enough to panic about? No. Obviously, BG and AJ kind of brought that along on them, among themselves, but overall, I was kind of mixed on how I felt about both of those things. But that's exactly what Philadelphia is capable of doing. But they've shown that 2 of the 4 quarters against the Ravens, they threw the ball all over the place and looked great, right? The other 2, they didn't do anything. And you're like, okay, let's just have 4 quarters of that. And they finally did. And they put it together in the Steeler game. So that's how I always felt about it. I did think it was funny, though, Josh, as Jay Glazer, puts out this report that Brandon Graham and who was the other person? Big Dom went to Jalen Hurts' house during the bye week and told him to be friendlier to his teammates and make friends better. And then, that's the report. And we always believe Jay Glazer because he's BFS with Lane Johnson. And so we all assume that Lane Johnson just funnels the reports to Jay Glazer. And then BG comments on an Instagram post and is like, lies, LOL. So
yeah.
You're like, wait a second. Okay. Is he actually lying about this? Be interesting to see if Glazer talks about it.
What's the truth, right? That you never know. It's so hard in this day and age. You never know what the truth is because like there's a part of me that goes, BG might be trying to cover up by the fact that he kind of got carried away or stepped out of line or whatever about his comments for Jalen and AJ that they even, basically said that. Both Jalen and AJ, he was out of line. He said that he didn't really know about. He didn't know the full details. So was it a slap on the wrist? And then now this report is finally getting out because Jay Glazer had some sources that confirmed something did happen, and then BG's trying to speak up for it to be, covering it up? Or is it someone who's feeding information that is like trying to smear or, hurt an image or whatever? And BG just speaking truth to it by commenting back. So I don't know. You never know what the official truth is. Ultimately, it's like, look, who really cares too much, right? Because like if we're talking about that happened over the bye week, it's 10 weeks ago.
It is pretty crazy. It's like that long ago, and we're like discussing what happened as if it mattered. Or matters now.
Everyone's turned things around. Jalen has been phenomenal, and the vibes of this team are obviously very different, even with a little bit of a hiccup, whatever you want to call it. Everybody loves everybody. They got together. AJ said, look, there we go. We shut everybody up. Like, that's what we did. So, I mean, to me, it feels like it would be more a relevant thing. And yes, you want to know the backstories of all this other stuff, but it feels like it'd be more a relevant thing if it was, oh, hey, this past week, right before this game, BG and Big Dom went to Jalen and said, okay, fine. Now we're talking about like, we're only a couple weeks away from playoff. This was back in, what was the month then? October? Like early October? It was super early, maybe September. I don't know what the date was.
Like
but
late September, probably.
In the year. So, it is what it is. But like I say, you never can tell what the exact truth is, especially because I respect Jay Glazer, as a lot of reports that he shared have been legit and accurate, and he has sources. But you also look at it, how many stories are somebody that gets info from actually a pretty credible source, and it turns out to be false because they had someone that was feeding them false information, and then they shared that information. So you never know.
And then there's the massive group of people on Twitter who have some sort of platform and then just make up stuff, right? That happens all the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Josh
Never
and I have
fails.
talked about this too off camera. Like, Josh and I are at the point where we could easily put out fake reports that people would jump in on. And we could be like, no, I heard it. And they'd be like, yeah, Thomas and Josh heard it. They know. But we don't do that because it's ridiculous. But there are plenty of people that do that in all around the National Football League. Let's just say that. So you never know what is actually true and what is not.
It is wild. It's a wild world that we live in. Daryl with a 5, we appreciate that, says, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. I don't think enough people realize how much of an amazing season this has been. Just enjoy.
Yeah, I think the final 2 words there are 100%. I mean, all of it is true, but just enjoy. We really do need to enjoy it because there's a scenario, Josh, where Philadelphia loses to the Commanders this week, and everybody starts acting like we're the Panthers and the sky is falling and that we're going to get eliminated in round 1, and then they get rolling and then going forward. I mean, if I would have told you at the beginning of the season, Josh, would you bet money that Philadelphia wins 13 straight games to end the regular season? That's what we're staring at right now. You would have bet against that for sure. Why many Eagle fans would have bet for that, right? But we're at the point now where even if they lose this week, like if Jake Elliott misses a game winner, and it's like, oh my gosh, like the sky is falling, I'm going to have to make sure that I myself don't do that as I'm saying this now. But I'm at the point where it was like, we got to be grateful for what we have. And that's 10 straight wins, all of which have looked really good, and all of which have come, or at least recently, against really good football teams.
For sure, yes. And we should also say this as well, as we're getting ready to wrap at the top of the hour, be a little bit beyond here. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Come check out the game streams. We have a blast there. I think most people know this, but I get a few comments every single time of being like, bro, you guys got to chill. Y'all were saying this, blah, 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 like that during the game. During the game, you tell me when you're actually level-headed and not showing emotion.
Right.
Like, you can't be level-headed and not emotional if you're an Eagles fan during an Eagles game, no matter really what the score is. So, yeah, it's like one play happens, you're like, oh, come on, what are you doing? So there is that. But it's like, take more so what happens in the game recap when it's like we've had some time to decompress, we've had some time to think about it, then to organize our thoughts and be like, okay, here's where we're at. Because ultimately, in the heat of the moment, it can be like, oh my gosh, Jake Elliott missed a field. We're doomed. There's just no way to win a game because we can't have a field goal. Whatever. You make just something up or you get really carried away. Everybody's been there. But yeah, they could. I don't think that they will.
Sure.
Should we wrap with official score predictions? Do you want to?
Yeah, how about that?
Are you ready for your score prediction? Official, like I said, the Eagles 3.5-point favorites. The what was the spread or what was the total? I was going to see real quick. It is 45.5 is the total.
Okay.
Looks like 32 degrees right now is predicted. Clear skies, 32 degrees.
Could you see a low-scoring game, Josh? Like, I really thought that the Steeler game was going to be one of those 17-13 games, right? And then Philly's offense really rolled, and they could have scored more if not for a couple of those turnovers early on. Oh, man. I keep feeling like there's going to be a team that actually makes Philadelphia, breathe a little hard at the end of these games, not named Jacksonville and the Carolina Panthers, right? Those were the 2 close games that the Eagles came down to the wire. True. I just don't know. I just don't know if the Eagles are going to lay an egg this week. I'm going to take Philadelphia. Do they get to 30 is the question. I'm going to say no. 27-24. I'll go a little closer. 27-24 Philly. Odds are, though, it'll be like, 34-13, like Mike M just said. That's more likely, but I'll say 27-24 Philadelphia.
Okay, all right.
Commanders need this game. They desperately
do, for sure.
need this game.
This is a huge game for them. Not that it's not for us, but if you were to try to equate it and say, it's kind of like their big opportunity, their big chance to say, okay, make sure that we still have playoff status solidified. Not that it's over, but make a big stance. Jeremiah Butler with a 45-13. I think that's the biggest. That'd be nice in terms of a blowout that I've seen so far.
Weary Drifter says 28-20. The guy who's got the dream seats and dropped the $100 super chats. I appreciate that. That also sounds like a very reasonable. 28-20. Commanders are like going for 2 early in the fourth quarter. Don't get it and then get shut out the rest of the way. I think that makes sense. 41-17 from Diane is it'd be nice, but that's a lot. Okay. That's a big difference.
We'll take it.
Big difference.
We haven't gotten there yet.
I would take it.
I haven't even gotten into the 40s, so I mean, it's possible, I suppose. Yeah, the fact that it was 26-18 last time, It took forever to get there. I feel like
really
we can get a little bit more scoring quickly, but does the defense hold the Commanders to a lower scoring? What is Jaden Daniels? They're going to argue that he was injured, whatever we want to believe about that. But I'm going to say, yeah, I'm probably about in the same stance there. I said 28 for the Eagles last week. I'd probably say 28 for the Eagles, and I might go with like a weird score. I'll go with the same score of the Jaguars game. I'm going to say 28-23. Eagles.
Okay.
Win.
Okay.
Strange score there.
Makes sense. They were up on the Saints big, and then Saints came back, could have won that game. They killed the what was it, the Panthers the week prior, I believe. Titans it was. And then, of course, they had that 3-game losing streak to us and the Steelers and I think the Dallas Cowboys. So they're very much a team in flux. They kind of feel like the Jalen's first year starting in 2021 team, right? They're not going to win a Super Bowl. They're still a good football team. They have good players. They're a year away, and that's kind of where I think most of us are at, right?
Yeah.
They could beat you, but they shouldn't beat you.
And Cliff Kingsbury's teams, remember, they usually statistically get a little bit worse as the year goes on. So his offense is maybe figured out. So
usually
we'll see if that plays
there
back
you go.
Up, but yes. Last super chat here before we wrap. Appreciate it from Joey. Another 5. Going back to the comment of the Lions, says, I'm sorry, but when you have 17 starters injured out of 22, you're doing something wrong. Not every team, but Dan definitely pushes his guys too hard, in my opinion. Maybe.
Okay, well, maybe. Never know. I don't know. I'm not in that room.
I won't disagree by the fact that, yes, there's crazy amount on the IR. It's ridiculous how some of these guys get hurt, but
it is.
I would have to go and look at all of the injuries and like how that happened, because some of them have been crazy, like fluke injuries and also just big hits on game day. And, there's a counter argument of like, oh, well, if they didn't practice so hard, but like Carlton Davis breaking his jaw, like I don't care if you sat out the whole week or you played the whole week in practice. Like you break your jaw, that's just like tough luck. So I don't know. You'd have to analyze all those, but maybe there's a little bit something to it. He is the like toughness, grit through it, just keep going. So yeah, maybe a few, but I don't know. I don't know each of the injuries well enough to go, yeah, this happened because he was overworked. So
yeah, I disagree. I agree with you. I disagree with them, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we appreciate it. See all the other comments. Looks like we got a lot of Eagles wins, naturally, understandably. Several blowouts. I mean, lots of just winning comfortably. So hopefully we see that. Eagles on the road in Washington. Still don't have to hop on a plane. So that's the beauty. This
that's pretty nice.
Season schedule, just quick bus trips, don't have to go too far. Good to go. But as always, we appreciate you guys. Congrats again to Andres for winning the helmet, the Cooper DeJean signed helmet from Thomas. You'll get the message there. Thomas will share that also. And
just did.
You guys come hang out. Come hang out during the game. We'll see you guys on Sunday. And more videos, previews, and everything else to come. So until next time, make sure to like button, subscribe, and you know what it is. Go Birds.
Go Birds.